Huge shout out and thank you to Zenless Zone Zero for sponsoring this video. I swear it happens every time. Whenever there's a singer or some kind of musician involved in a game, I gotta go back in. ZZZ is now releasing Astronomical Moment, the character Astra, and I'm genuinely curious to hear more of this sort of jazzy pop style that I think is what we're getting with this character. I actually just came back to ZZZ recently with, of course, the Miyabi patch, and I've been slowly starting to work my way back up through the story after I sort of took a break in the interlude between Acts 2 and 3. If you don't know what Zenless Zone Zero is, it's a fairly brand new IP set in like a post-apocalyptic world where contemporary civilization has been destroyed and you're trying to put together the pieces. You play a character Proxy and you meet fun characters and go on adventures with them and try to basically save and unravel the mysteries in New Eridu, which is the last shelter for urban civilization. It seems like the story is really picking up since the last time I played, and so I'm excited to dive in. I re-downloaded and restarted playing it because of Miyabi, which I do not regret, and as I've been leveling her up, I just realized that Astra Yao is also coming out, so yeah, I'm back in. Let's check out her trailer, Wonderful Reverie. Oh wow, oh my god. This is intriguing. This is like 90s anime. Fascinating. Okay. So, you know, there's a couple little things. I'm not going to stop too much, but there's a couple little things that I'd like to point out that I think really lend themselves to understanding a little bit more about the character of Astra Yao and certainly her bodyguard there as well. One of the key things is the fact that we have that twinkling in the sound. There's a real inherent playfulness within that. Also notice that when we go bum piada da dom piam ba da ba boom, that actually has a dance-like quality to it. And what are we doing there in the piano? Where we're playing the lower chord, we're playing the lower note, and then we're cascading downward, we're descending. Bum, ba, 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 ba. And what that does is it gives us a sensation of like, almost there's a sound of curiosity in there. There's a sound of like possibility. Bum, ba-da-ba-boo, yum, ba-da-ba-boo. Certainly there's a sound of exploration, and there really is a quality in that of like, you know, I really want to achieve my dream, or I really want this to come true. And the thing is, like, that's such a simple little thing, but it's worth pointing out because that really showcases a characterization to us through music, which is really nice. Oh, nice. We shift the widescreen. Love the accordion too. Yeah, so this is really sweet. So this is this is basically, first of all, gorgeous intro. We shift in with the accordion. The accordion also gives us a quality of warmth in the sound. The accordion also does a really good job of locking us into sort of like a pseudo-European sound, because that's something that we hear a lot in French and Italian music. The thing that I really hear in this music is the sort of concept of the modern woman. She feels very like girlish, but also very mature and strong, and she has dreams and aspirations that she's going to pursue them with all of her vigor and desire and passion. The costume change is really interesting because it seems like she grows from girl to woman here. Check this out. The pose shifts, the music shifts, like there's a and that's something that we do a lot in music, where we sort of suspend as we enter in with the chorus or with the soloist. That invites that the beginning of the vocals, and I want to talk about the vocals here in a second. I love that. So so what we do there is we start off really spoken, especially this sounds so good in this natural register. And we actually take that exact same rhythmic gesture and melodic gesture and we just lower it. So when it's essentially repeating itself, but the intention is actually ever so slightly different because it's repeated in a lower part of the scale. The second time has a naturally warmer sound than the first time, which I think is actually either way is extremely inviting, and also the way that the vocals are super playful, super rhythmic, and also really consonant heavy. 帶著那份悸動逃離搏速，還有轉美到最和自己約定説好，從不亂套，全可做到。But that's another example. Dum dum da dum, dum dum da dum. That too is another like let's repeat, but ever so slightly differently, so that it has a more emotional impact. Dum dum da dum, dum dum da dum. That really does a great job to bolster us, and in fact the lyrics as they are. To never lose anything, to never lose track, to achieve everything. Yeah, it's really something like out of a dream, isn't it? I mean, it's absolutely stunning. And actually, it's bringing up a lot of the feelings I used to have when I started singing, like the desire and the dream to pursue that thing. They keep you afloat. And it's a really powerful thing when you really love something and really want to do it and pursue it. And you have this magical vision in your eyes of what it looks like. And you see yourself in the mirror and your different, the different costumes that you wear and stuff. These are real feelings. And I'm always really impressed when we do get these musicians in these games, because they always feel very accurate. And so like, say what you want, but these are true to life. And I also think that what's incredible here is the incredible accordion, and how, again, we have this bouncing, playful, peaceful, very light, energetic quality in this. Listen. All of that is incredibly like warm, inviting. It really like fills your heart with a sense of like possibility and a sense of like wanting to accomplish a lot, and just like really it's gumption. It's one day I'll count each page on that music sheet again. Like that's just what I want. And the accordion makes it, again, like I mentioned earlier, there's a natural playfulness in that sound. The accordion is interesting because of the way that, being that it's a sort of, it's got a lot of air in it when you press on the keys and you pressing it together and expanding, and it makes this really unique sound. And I think that tonal quality naturally lends itself to warmth and to a feeling of I don't know, it's kind of like an invitation, kind of, but also her singing like there's an energy in that sound where it's really like, I can do anything, like I'm capable of so much. And then the transition here is glorious. And the thing that changes here is just the fact that we have the strings. The strings really pull it forward. It has like oh my God, I did it. I finally achieved my dream. There's a sound in there of like hope and like a real sense of invitation. Like listen. And now, first of all, we get that a little bit when the pitches go up, but that part we get that. right? But then on top of that, I really think it's the strings that are sending that home, because the strings invite the richer quality that we've already had. Obviously, her voice is also doing something to us because it's really warm, and it's interesting because her voice is very youthful. There's a little bit of an edge to it, and it's certainly got a warmth to it, despite the fact that it's young sounding and there's an edge, which usually all of those things don't really coalesce super well. But in this particular instance, it just like genuinely works. Oh. Also, the harmonies are nice, and because the harmonies are alternating between going below the main melody and then also going above it. And I think like it's interesting because harmony, realistically, this will be the last time I stop for a little while, but sometimes harmony can be really interesting, and it can really add certain layers to the quality of the main vocal instrument. The main voice is always going to be the center, right? That's the lead, that's the melody line. Like the melody line is the most important aspect of this, but then around it, depending on where the harmony is, it actually elevates that vocal line to a different degree. If it's a lower harmony line, the harmony will sort of be buoying and supporting the melodic line. Whereas if it's higher, it actually it's hard to explain, but it essentially like elevates the whole thing up. So it has it feels more gentle. It's interesting how obviously low symbolizes low to the ground, more body, less energy, usually a much more feeling of buoying and support. I mean, it makes sense because when we look at a piano, the left hand is always going to be lower than the right hand, and almost all melody line, if you're a soprano, is going to end up in the middle register and higher. So like, having the lower harmony there adds emphasis, but then when you go up top, it's a different kind of sound because it's obviously higher than the melody line. And so I think in that case, the higher harmony does produce a feeling of femininity and womanhood and gentility. The strings take over. Oh. Very ballad-like. Feels like something out of... Oh, I like that. See, this is nice. I think we're actually going to boost up to a higher part, or it's going to pull back. But right here, we have this really nice thing where we essentially sustain. And so even though we're in a harmony and we've had this moment of celebration where she's really just saying like, come, let me take care of you. I'm going to sing for you. I'm going to spread the good news with my voice, and I'm going to lift up everybody with my voice. And then that's very common. Singers tend to feel like, oh, I can really change the world with the power of the voice, and the human voice is so important, and so on and so forth. And those things are all valid. But when we have the sustain here, I'm not sure what's going to happen. We'll either pull musically away and this will be the peak, and maybe the peak won't be as grand as I'm expecting it. Or on the flip side, it will actually crescendo into something new. I'm curious to see it, but that's what happens when we sustain like that. It's actually us sort of slowing down and shifting gears musically. You can hear it right here. Wow, so 90, like it gives me like kind of Cowboy Bebop vibes. That's really interesting. So it actually pulled back, and I think the pulling back was actually a really interesting choice. Let's just rewind really quickly and check out this little corner. This is really the climax when she steps through the door. Yeah. It's interesting because it doesn't actually peak. Like, it does peak. Like, this is the climax of this piece, this beautiful, wonderful Wonderland Reverie. But what we actually don't do here is we don't sort of like blow our gasket. Like, we don't go crazy hard. We have a natural buildup where she's saying, let me sing for you. I want to share my voice with you. And then it's interesting because then it's like she snaps out of this imaginary landscape and she ends up here. And here we have this wonderful vocal shift. So what do we do there? I mean, we like totally rallentando, we slow down all the way, and we have this dum dum da dum dum. And this ultimately, really what this ends up being is just a beautiful ballad where we, allow ourselves to sort of come to terms with our vision or our dream, where there's like a feeling of beautiful resolution over the fact that we were able to sing for people or present ourselves in our best form to others. There's a real like sort of like magic in the voice that's really, I think, captured in this particular piece. And I think that that's why we slow down too, because if you look at the lyrics, if you feel tired, relive the magical journey I composed. And it's talking about how like music can like move you to the point that like life can be perceived differently because you've heard music for the first time, or you've heard, well, in this case, Astra Yao's music. And I find that really like tender. When I first was reading a little bit of her description, I sort of like, oh, well, okay, well, so is she coming from a place of ego, or is it coming from a place of like a pure desire to just delight and have an audience love her, and I think and have her love them back. And I think that that's really where this lands. It lands quite nicely, and I really do love this sort of animation style. Is terrifically like, Cowboy Bebop sort of 1990s vibes, which is fascinating. And yeah, I'm absolutely pulling for Astra Yao, and how could I not? She's a singer. She seems really charming, and I'm curious to catch up with the story and see what her character is going to be like in the game itself. Of course, if this made you interested in ZZZ, there is a link down below in the pinned comments and above the fold where you can check out Zenless Zone Zero for yourself. It's a really good game. There's also a web event going on right now until January 31st where you can get a bunch of in-game currency and other goodies. There's a link for that as well in the About section. Feel free to check that out. And as always, thanks a ton, and I'll see you later.